Yeah, I was mentioning to you before we came to air that I lived in another city for quite a while. And when I moved here, I was downtown and I met someone who was living on the streets and they asked me for money. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And they said, no problem. Thank you. And I thought, did you just thank me? And I've never met such polite people panhandling.
I think the fear or the stigma we get of folks is this misperception of their motive, and realize they're people just like us, loved and cared by families as much as they possibly can, and changing our imagination of how we see folks or perceive folks makes a world of a difference, and shifting that perception, both expectations, and then our response to treat them with dignity.
Yeah, and in this report, it talks a lot about how people feel unsafe around the homeless population. You
Mhm.
feel very safe. What are some tips that you would have for people?
One of them is just changing the narrative. Instead of the word street, we have tried to use a language somewhat awkward of neighbors. My neighbors have no fixed address. They're still my neighbors. I'm called to love my neighbor, whether they have the house next door or they're in precarious housing. And just changing that imagination I begin to interact with them just as if they're a neighbor. Now, because I live downtown, I'm running into them every place. They move from strangers where we're suspicious of each other towards familiarity, acquaintance, and friendship. And then the response is dramatically different. To say someone's name, to look them in the eye, these are really simple, free things we can do as we engage folks. And treating a person who's on the street, who's displaced, the same way we would treat a new neighbor. The possibilities of engagement and treating them with respect and being in return treated with respect.